evening, everyone. Welcome to Random Encounters Guild. Um, Bit of a change this evening. First of all, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day, Austin. Glad you could join us on this very special day. Um, we have several fathers here in the guild, and that's part of what's going on tonight. Is we're getting a late start because of me, because I was visiting family out of state and had to hustle home. Um, and then one of our other players is camping and didn't have the signal to sign in, and one of the other players is having all kinds of tech difficulties. So, what we thought we would do, since we've been doing this playtest of an original game, Chain Theory, that Kevin and I have been working on for a while now. Um, and this is really the first full-on playtest. We've done a couple of one-shots with it, just kind of testing the waters, but this is the first time we've tried to do an adventure. So we didn't want to continue the story with two players out, and we thought this would be a good chance to get a little feedback from Jonathan and Austin and see if they have any questions or see if they have any suggestions or things they see that could be that we maybe didn't notice. And also in chat, if you're watching and you've been watching for the last several weeks as we've played this Dungeon Crawl Classics module from Goodman Games, by all means, if you have a question or something you'd like to speak of, Jeff's in chat. He can join in on the conversation in chat. So yeah, just we just thought we would sit down and have a little bit of a conversation on the game and not do a long stream. Just have a little chat and call it a night and get back together in 2 weeks. So,
Are you opening the floor?
Well, I was going to say, let's start with Kevin. I've been running this thing, and I've kind of got my feet wet in it. Kevin hasn't really had a chance to run it yet, but now that he's playing it, we actually haven't discussed if he is seeing anything that he would like to change. Every time I get some crazy idea, I send him a text. It's like, hey, we got to do this. So Kevin, is there anything that you've noticed that doesn't work or could work better or something like that?
Not really. I know that there's a couple of ideas that I've come up, things that we need to flesh out, things that need to be modified and stuff like that. I'm taking playtest notes and everything, and I'm prepping for all these adventures that I'm going to run at Gen Con. So, from the GM side of things, it's like, oh, we don't have this built out, and we should have it built out. I can come up with that and fill in the holes from there. But so far, I haven't really come across anything that's like, this really needs to be fixed. This really needs to be, taken care of. Like what Jenna said about, if you're doing a one shot, like having people start out a little more powerful depending on how powerful you want the adventure to be. Like that's something that I'm going to take into consideration when I run the games at Gen Con.
And see, that's when she said that, the first thing that popped in my head is that's simple. Like, just give them the either the next die size up in every stat or 2 die sizes up in every stat. I mean, that would be a simple fix to do a quick, higher powered,
Yeah, but like that, part of this is also developing how things are going to be written and how the book or whatever it is that we're going to put out for this, the rule set's going to have that. So like we think about it now, okay, yeah, we'll just do that, but like we have to write it down and make sure that it's written and see if there's a way we could kind of balance things out to be like, all right, if you want a low tier kind of adventure, this is what you should start everyone off at. If you wanted mid tier this, high tier this, which this ongoing playtest is going to help kind of shake those numbers out much better than just running a bunch of one shots. Because, if you set it too high, everyone's going to steamroll through everything, and then you're going to be like, okay, well, that was way too easy. There was no challenge. And if you make it too low, then it's just like, it's a little easier for that. Then you're just like, okay, well, guess what? You now have a D7 in that stat as opposed to the D6 that you had before. And maybe things will be a little bit better. But, once you get out of the play testing phase, you don't want to be making changes like that on the fly.
Yeah. And that's the big, like, I keep throwing that caveat out there, is that this game was not written to run a funnel. We're skinning this funnel with our game, and I'm just kind of making stuff up as we go. Game is not meant to work that way. But we all love DCC, and we all love Goodman Games, and we all love playing in funnels. So we jumped in with a funnel, and we probably should have just started at first level. Especially for a playtest, that probably would have been the smart choice.
And that was one of my questions, and kind of going to what Kevin was saying, is making sure that when we say, okay, first level, well, what does first level look like with Brawn and Brisk and Brains? So, like, is that just move up a dice roll, or is first level a D8 or a D10?
Yeah, when we actually go, like, when we get through the funnel and go to that's not the right link. When we actually go to first level and go further in, we will do it the way the game is written. So when we start out, when we go to first level, you'll have a D10, a D8, and a D6.
Okay.
And you can put them wherever you would like. And the concept of that is, with the funnel, like, you're going to have this character that's kind of progressed, and maybe he's not a strength-based character. Maybe he's a rogue or a wizard type character. So you're going to put that D10 in Brains for a wizard and Brisk for a rogue. But you get to decide where that, you get a D10, a D8, and a D6. You decide where they go. The character you want to play. If you want to play a big barbarian strength-based character, you're going to put that D10 in Brawn.
Yeah, like traditional D20-based leveling isn't going to be the same in this system as it is, in that one. Like, this is going to be more like Powered by the Apocalypse games. It'll be, like, you get a certain amount of experience and you get to advance something. So sometimes it's, I could bump up a stat, but you can only do that a certain number of times. You could pick new moves. You could make a move that you already have better. So it's not really like I'm a 10th level like Monster Hunter. It's I'm a Monster Hunter and this is what I do. Whereas here, it's, I'm really good at brawn things. I'm really good at thinking. I'm really, agilitiousness, so it's,
I think the word is agile, Kevin.
No, it couldn't be. I'm a master of English. A master.
I think we're more agile than we are muscle.
So just broad strokes statement. I like the system. I think it's unique, and utilizes the really cool parts of what we like about DCC, which is the dice progression. So I'm a fan of it. I've got some more questions that we can go later on, of kind of just very specific things about how we're wanting to handle them.
I was thinking maybe like adding bit to the monster, because what Scotty said a little while ago, that it's a little bit it feels like it could be a bit more. Not like we can't make it too strong, we can't make it too weak. But I just feel like that could be a little bit harder because it feels too easy for some of the characters, depending on how we build it.
And that's like I said. One thing I'm discovering is, as a GM playing this, you've got to be able to stay on your feet and be able to react and improv, because it's all opposed rolls. It's all high roll wins, and like you guys had your first encounter with the monster, and it should have killed at least 2 of you, and it didn't. And it's because I was rolling like crap. And that's the only reason it happened. It had the stats to take somebody out super easy because it's a funnel and that's what it's written to do. But I put it into chain theory and I rolled garbage. So the monster seemed kind of weak. So it may be a thing. And here again, not meant to be a funnel, not meant to be used for a funnel. I honestly believe there's only one dude that has gotten the funnel right, and that is Goodman. DCC is specifically written, and like the way they do funnels is you're not going to improve on it. So,
and we also have we toss the idea around, and it's something that I do want to play test, separately, is not necessarily having the GM roll against the player. It's more like, okay, there's a difficulty setting, you'd say, for what you're trying to do, and it determines like what percentage of the die you're supposed to roll. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to do something really hard, like if you want to go and do that mighty deed of arms, sure, go ahead, but you're going to have to roll, an 8 on your D8. And if you don't have a D8 or better in that stat, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not good enough. You're not powerful enough. You're not trained enough. Whatever abstraction layer you want to put over it that causes that to happen, would create that. Or it's just like if you want to do something, it's pass fail, like we were talking about before we got on camera, where it's just like, okay, you just have to get higher than 50%, the top 50% of the die that you're rolling, and you pass. That's it. So those are things that I'm going to try and do when I run my games, to try and test those out to see if it works. And one of the things that we want to kind of do with this system is make it modular like that. So, we could put it out where there are 3 different ways to run things, where it's, player versus GM rolling, player versus environment rolling, and, if one of those 3 that we play test isn't good, people aren't having fun, all right, that doesn't go in there. But, it could be like, oh, Scott really likes rolling against other players. Other GMs may not feel that way. Other GMs might be like, I'm not used to rolling a die when I'm playing these games, when I'm running a game. I'm just, I'm just there to tell the story. I'm just there to react to what the players are doing and, kind of guide them along the way. Then we'll have a rule set for them to do something like that. We want to kind of make this so this way it's a generic system that can be used by any type of game master, any type of player, any type of setting, anything like that.
Yeah, and see, that's what Kevin said is like, I don't like that idea of doing a difficulty rating. I want the GM to roll. I want the GM, because that's the worst part of like, there are some games that are like my favorite games. I love them, except for the fact that the DM doesn't roll. GM doesn't have any like dice, doesn't have any autonomy whatsoever. I want the GM to be able to enjoy rolling like the players do. Now, that doesn't have to look like it looks now. Maybe there's some in between that we just haven't discovered yet. But my concept of what the reason we do it the way we do it is I wanted the GM to be able to roll, and and it have weight. Now, the downside is if the GM rolls garbage, it doesn't have weight. So there's that.
If I can make a suggestion,
Yeah, that's why we're here.
I was gonna say we can, like, you can put out scenarios for like the GM for like monsters or anything else like that. You can roll for maybe, let's say, for the monster. They can either flee or attack. You roll for that and you go for that. Or you can roll and they flee. You can come up with many scenarios with different outcomes. And
Well,
that
some game systems like they have that. Like I know in Pathfinder they have for certain on the GM's end they'll have an NPC will have tactics. So it's like this thug is going to fight to the death, but this other thug, if they hit 10 hit points or less, they run away. Like
Mhm.
so that's that's something that we could kind of make up like templates, I guess, for certain bad guys and stuff like that. So it's just like, oh, you want to have a thug type character that could be used in any setting. It's a guy with a mohawk and a neck tattoo in a cyberpunk setting, or it's a guy wearing leather armor and with a poison dagger in a fantasy setting. This is how they normally react to certain things. Here's the die that should be used for the different attributes and everything. Here's the kind of equipment that they might normally come with. That's something that we will a little further down the line once we've got the kind of skeleton of the system fine tuned. We'll put out stuff like that and have that available.
So here's a question. And Scott, you've probably already been addressing this on your side, but we haven't had to address it yet. How does death happen? Is it when you hit 0 hit points, or what is the thought process behind that for player deaths?
Let me pull up. You have your hit points are the max number of your brawn die.
Correct.
And what I let you guys do with the funnel as an experiment was you did your brawn die plus a d6. And
which I think gave us too many hit points.
Possibly. But let me see. I want to be sure what
I have it up if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I've got it right here now too. Yeah.
So as usual, we have a couple of different ways of handling it depending on how you want to do it. So pretty much once you hit 0 hit points, you have to make what we're calling an aftermath roll. So it's a backbone check. It's either, if you're rolling against the GM, it's an opposed check. If you're rolling against the environment, it's, upper 50% of the die size. So it's kind of like, that's kind of like the death saving throws in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And once you succeed on, we have it set to 3 rolls. We could change that number to whatever we want. 3 just tends to be like the industry standard. You're unconscious. You stabilized, you're unconscious at 0 hit points. You're just kind of laying there. You're not bleeding out anymore. You're there until someone could bring you back to life.
Yeah. And I like that system because it gives the player something to do when you're down in battle.
Yeah.
And everyone else is getting to roll and do really cool stuff. You still get to roll, and there's something at stake. So, other question: what is Doom related to within the backbone? So within backbone on the character sheet, like it's a sub thing. What is Doom?
Those are the advancement marks for backbone.
Yeah.
So the rules as of right now, when you roll a 1 on a backbone roll, you take full damage from the attack and you gain a Doom point. When you get 5 Doom points, backbone goes up.
Your backbone goes from a D6 to a D7. Thereby leveling up your backbone and giving you more.
Gotcha.
If you've survived 5 natural 1s on backbone rolls, you get to bump it up. And we couldn't think of a word that was started with a BR to signify that role. So we just went with Doom. And that honestly that happened by accident. That was just like it totally was just I was just coming up with stats and I was like, wait a minute, like 3 of these all start with BR. What's a word for agility? Oh, brisk. Brisk. So yeah, that's just the way you
We're gonna call the system
level up
B-roll
your
back in the day.
I kind of like that.
How my
What
dad
if you call it bravery?
or breaker. We break through the nat ones.
What were you gonna say, Austin?
How my dad runs his games is he'll just roll dice for fun, but then he'll roll dice for characters to see their scenarios. Like it could be an ambush, it could be stealth, it could be whatever. And he does it like secretly, not like secretly. Like he'll let us know, he'll let us hear the dice, and it'll just freak us out. That's what makes it fun for me, is just being freaked out. What is the DM going to do? And I think
that's just that you do that normally. Like you're like, hey, give me a perception check, and they're like, why? Just give it to me.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
and there's nothing. You're just. That's just being a jerk GM.
Yeah,
That's just
like
messing with your players.
In Fantasy Grounds, like I've got it set right now where you guys see my rolls and what I do. But if you set it to hide the GM rolls, the players don't see it, but they see the shadow of a D20 go rolling across the screen.
Yeah.
But they don't see the result. And I used to do that all the time in our Iron Gods game. If Dan and Jeff ever started, talking randomly about something that had nothing to do with the game, I would just start rolling D20s, and that always snapped them up. That always got them out. That focused them up.
I think that.
But I used to do that at the table too. My games that I ran at a table, I always used a screen, and I would just pick up a couple of D6s and just roll them into my tray just to get their attention. I used to do that all the time. Yeah, that's standard GM practice.
How have we been handling speed? And we've kind of just been fudging it at this point. Like what seems like it's a normal move.
No, your move is 30.
It is
for
30?
For a human, it's 30. For a dwarf, it's 20.
Okay,
and for an elf, it's. Hold on. Oh no, I made that. That's one of the things I made up on the spot when we were doing the funnel creation.
Yeah, so that'll be something that will have to be made up for every.
So we'll create something for it. That'll be written in.
What we have written down now, it's kind of like it's more theater of the mind.
Yeah.
So we have 3 different range increments: close, medium, and far. So close is like you're in melee range with the person. You're punching them in the face, stabbing them with a sword.
Yeah.
Medium is gun range. Okay, I'm firing a bow at them. I'm shooting a pistol. I'm shooting a rifle. And then far is like I have a sniper rifle, or I'm shooting you with a tank, or I'm in a plane and I'm firing at you. That kind of thing. And then as one of your actions during your turn, you can try and move between an adjacent zone of movement. So it's just like, I can't hit this guy with my gun, so I'm going to take out my tactical knife and move into close range and then stab him. Doing it the way that we've been doing it with the battle maps and everything like that. It's that's more just because that's how DCC is.
Yeah,
what we're used to.
Well, and it's more, that's how I want to run it. Like I want the human to have this amount of movement speed, the dwarf to have this amount, the elf to have this amount. I don't like that range, medium, short, long. That creates work for the GM, and I don't like that. Kevin, see, and what you're going to discover is this writing partnership that we've created. Kevin loves the crunch. Kevin wants the heavy rules and all the little nitpicky little. Scotty doesn't love the crunch. Scotty likes smooth peanut butter. Scotty wants everything to be easy for the GM, and so we're kind of balancing each other out. We're trying to find a middle ground, put it that way. And one of the things we've discussed is putting it in the book when we put it out is the option. Like the GM gets to decide, do you want to use range and like make it all super crunchy, or do you want to, keep it simple, stupid, and this is what their movement speed is.
Yeah, because making it setting agnostic adds complexity to the system because we're doing fantasy. You're not taking on someone at 300 meters with a rifle.
Yeah, with a sniper rifle. Yeah,
that doesn't exist in fantasy settings. So like, okay, we're going to use 5 foot squares and we're going to move around. It's like, oh, I've backed up a little bit. I can shoot them with my bow. But you also want to be able to play a game where, you're space marines and you're fighting giant, bugs in outer space. Like, you have to have something that's not just I'm standing next to the giant bug and I'm shooting at him with my pistol. Like I have to be pretty far back, lobbing nukes at him and everything like that. So options is what we're.
Is there another system that you know of that has like within the rule book that has those options?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Free League games, that's how it's set. It's just like there's close, medium, far, and it's.
Well, so I'm talking even more general, where we're kind of mentioning two sides of a coin with this system. With you can be very precise with exactly what can happen, or you can be story oriented with kind of what can happen, which is
a lot of the ones that I've seen. It's literally like whatever the GM wants to do.
Okay.
It could be, oh, this is completely theater of the mind. Like we don't have, there are no maps. Like if there's a map, it's not a battle map. It's just like, here's what the area you're in looks like to add,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
that's the way Fate works, and
Yeah.
Fate. I keep going back to Fate because that is that's the big system agnostic. Like you can run anything in Fate. But yeah, the times I've played Fate, there's never been a map. It's all been like we sat at a table and the GM just told us what was happening. And
the other generic, one, GURPS. I don't remember how that's done because I've never actually read this.
Yeah, I've never played or read GURPS, so
I've played it a couple of times, but I have the book back there somewhere, so I can pop it out and take a look at how they do it. But GURPS is definitely it's literally stands for generic universal role playing system. So it's like, oh, you want to play a fantasy game? Okay, well here's the fantasy book, and here's the book on elves and the book on dwarves. Oh, you want to, have spaceships? Okay, here's your book on spaceships.
And Chaosium has a new. They just put a couple months ago. They put out their basic. They put out a book that is their mechanic, without the Call of Cthulhu skin on it. It's just the D100 mechanic that could be used in any setting. But we've seen that mechanic. I mean, it's literally Call of Cthulhu mechanic. They just took that skin off of it. But it is a fascinating. I mean, it's a good system.
Oh, I
So
didn't
would
even know
magic be done with brains?
Yes.
Yeah, the way that it's written as of now, and I'm going to be testing this at Gen Con. One of the adventures is going to be, well, two of the adventures are going to be magic heavy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
One's more super powery, but instead of it being like I have fireball and I have magic missile and I have, cone of cold, it's this is the spell type to, kind of like the spell schools in D&D and Pathfinder, where it's just like enchantment spells and abjuration spells and stuff like that. And there, then you could be like, this is what I'm trying to do. Okay,
Gotcha.
cool. Make a brains roll. And then we also, I had written different levels, so it's just like, I want to do, I want to do fireball, but I'm not powerful enough to have it like be really big because my die size is too low. So like once you hit a certain die size in brains, it opens up more powerful magic that allows you to cast bigger, badder spells.
Okay.
So like the person that has, a D6 in brains, they're not going to be dominating another person. They might be able to do like a suggestion spell, or it's just like, go walk into the other room right now, and then they pass. But when they get up to like a D10 or a D12, then it's just like, okay, I can put, I have better control over the person's mind. I can put better ideas into them and become more powerful.
Yeah, everything is like that's why we wound up that we named it chain theory, because everything is on the chain of dice. That's the concept, is your spells will level up as you level up. Now that's going to put the onus on us to create a spell list.
No, you don't have to create a spell list. That's why I kind of made it this way is, okay, yeah, so like the list I have is elemental manipulation. So you want to shoot a lightning bolt, a fire bolt, snow, whatever it is, it falls under that. The player flavors it however they want. They'd be like, oh, I can, if the GM wants to be like, okay, you're only fire magic and that's all you could do, that's something you speak with your GM. You figure that out in the game that you're running. Mental manipulation, force manipulation, boon manipulation. So it's just like, oh, I want to, I want to cast haste. I want to make everyone move faster. All right, roll that spell. That's what you want to do. Roll your skill. It passed. Okay, cool. You can,
Actually, I have a
you give
question
a
on
bonus to everyone.
that. How many like mind points would you have to put in that to get like a spell or something?
It's just the way that I have it written here is it's like I said before, it's based on the minimum die size. So like I wrote down 3 steps of magic: minor, major, and master. So minor magic, you have to have a D4 in brains. So if you're in a magic setting and you're playing a lower powered thing and you have a D3 is a D4, a D3, and like a D6, and you want to be a magic user, don't put your D3 in brains. But eventually if you level it up, hey, I can start casting magic now. I have, I've been studying and now I'm a master of magic. Major requires a D8 and master requires a D12. So if you want to do, your classic D&D fireball, but you don't have a D12 in brains, you can't do it. You're going to fire,
Okay.
you're going to shoot the ball of fire at someone and it's going to hit just that person. It's not going to take out the entire room. You're muted, Scott. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, it's just, and a lot of that will fall on the GM again. Theater of the mind is like how he handles in their game. Somebody tries to do something that's beyond their capabilities. maybe if they have a D8 and they roll an 8, maybe he lets it slide. But if not, it fizzles in their hand and dissipates and nothing happens. But it's worth the shot. It's worth the roll.
Yeah, and since we're not using spell slots or magic points or mana or anything like that, you keep trying to do that spell. Keep going and doing it, and you might succeed. But if you're spending your entire combat trying to do this really big powerful fire magic and it's not working, maybe the other people in your party are getting killed and you have to change up your tactics and do something different. Or, the other players throw a shoe at you and, try and wake you up from that. Or the GM is finally like, look, it's not going to work. Try and do something else.
Okay. But I have another question. Aren't we all have D6s in practically everything? So wouldn't we all have minor stuff?
Well, yeah, that's because we're playing a funnel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
you're supposed to be playing. The idea behind the funnel is you're playing level 0 nobodies. You're just dudes that picked up swords and went to go kill the Wendigo who took all the women from your village.
The way the game is written is you've got a D10, a D8, and a D6, and you decide where you want to put them. If you want to play a big, strong, barbarian Conan type character, you're going to put your D10 in brawn because that's going to be what you're going to use. If you want to be a sneaky thief, rogue type character, you're going to put your D10 in brisk. If you want to be a wizard or a science guy or somebody that uses their brains, you're going to put it in your D10 in brains. But it's up to you. You get to decide what character you want to play and where you want that bonus to be. But it means something else is going to be weak. You can't be a big, strong dude and also have a ton of brains. Now.
Well, Scott, you should have told me about this Chaosium thing.
Man, that's been out for a minute. But the beauty of the system, what I think is the beauty of the system is you start out with that D10 and you start out with a D10 in brawn because you're playing a barbarian. You level up brains and bump that D6 or D8 to the next die up, and suddenly your barbarian is smarter than he was. He's been learning from his experience, and maybe he starts casting spells.
Okay.
And the player gets the choice. The player gets to decide where the dice are and where the starting point is, and then everything else is based on how you play that character, because the leveling up is on -1s and full on. If you've got the D10, if you roll a 10, you get the point in the skill. Dan is asking, primarily wondering when we'll get a textual listing of basic change. Dan wants a book.
So the answer to that is sometime before July 31st, because I'm going to have something to hand out to people at Gen Con.
But even that's going to be a one sheet.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a reference document kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not going to be a. Dan wants. This is what Dan wants right here. Dan wants this.
Yes, he does.
And Dan's not going to get this ever because this game's not meant to be this. This game is meant to be more like this.
It's not quite a one-page RPG, but close enough.
Don't get me wrong. I adore this book. This is a brilliant RPG, and this book is all you need to run it. Everything is in this one book. You don't have to buy 3 books. You only have to buy the one. All the spells, everything's all in here.
There's nothing wrong with buying multiple books.
Fantastic. Oh, I've got multiple books. They're just all for other games, not this one.
I don't have multiple books.
My books
You're
are
slacking, kid.
RPG books.
I mean, all the books that I read, or sometimes barely read, are all up there.
My books are first edition Tolkien on this shelf.
All
When this
Harry
book comes
Potter.
out, you're all expected to buy it.
I would love it because it's the first
no free
edition.
copies.
Oh,
If I have the money for it, I'll get it. Maybe.
Not only,
No,
Jonathan,
you'll
not
have to-
only
you
will
have
it
to.
be first edition, it will probably be only edition.
makes it even more rare. Can I get a signed copy?
I will sign it for you.
Yes.
I'll
You think
even
I'm
sign it J.R.R. Tolkien if that will
You
make
think-
you happy.
You think I'm joking? I want that now.
I like mine.
You know,
to be
I
signed by
had when I
Kevin.
was in a band back in the day. I was in a band, and we put out a CD, and people started asking for my autograph. They wanted us to sign the CD, and I would just do my signature, and it dawned on me like, wait, no, this is how I sign checks. Like I don't need
You're
to
gonna
be.
go to the bank
I
with it
need
now.
to change this, and I altered my signature. So when somebody asked me to sign the CD, I did it completely different from the way I signed my name. It was such a weird experience. I was standing there signing a CD. It's like, oh, this is not. I shouldn't be doing this.
This isn't what they're asking for.
Why are they also asking for the last 4 digits of my social security?
Yeah. Why do they need that 3-digit number on the back of my debit card?
I would like you to make this out to your mother's maiden name.
So, Dan, anything else other than when is the book coming out? Oh, he's in the call.
Yeah, he's been in the call for a while.
Oh, I didn't know you were in there. I'm looking at OBS. So I didn't know you were in the call. I just thought you were in chat. Well, the problem is nobody hears you but us. So hold on
Right
just
now,
one second.
They're just hearing us talk to nothing.
Hold on, Dan.
He's adding
Hold
you.
on. Give me just a second. I can get you into the stream, but right now nobody hears you but the 4 of us. So let me get you into the stream, and we will move on from there.
We want the world to hear your thoughts.
We're going to go to a Be Right Back screen. I'm going to get Dan into the chat, and we'll be right back. So if anybody needs to go to the bathroom, grab a drink, now be the time to do it, and we'll only go for a few more minutes. We'll let Dan speak up. Like I said, I had no idea he had entered into the call. So we're going to go be right back. Just a couple of minutes, though, not an extended break. But I'm just going to get Dan into the chat, and we'll jump back in. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and welcome
Yay.
back to Dan. He was our member who had some tech difficulties. So yeah, Dan, any other questions or suggestions other than when is the full page book coming out?
I don't think so, but no, I don't need. And I understand it won't be a big book, but yeah, I like having the rules in hand, that sort of thing. And I'm sorry about the tech issues earlier, but no, I think the system is good. On my end, I understand some of the guys some of the things you guys have been discussing, just in terms of roles, opposed roles, things like that. But at the same time, I don't have the expertise to really give much, if any, advice on how to evolve the system.
Either do we.
Yeah, but I like, but
Who said that?
in all seriousness, I like the simplicity of it. I mean, one of the things, yeah, I think it'll be simplistic, easy to learn, easy to apply to virtually any gameplay situation.
That's pretty much the mission statement. Is
Yeah,
Scott wanted
that's
something where you just start playing in 5 minutes. Like sit down.
great.
All right, what
Character
kind of game you wanna play?
creation shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. Start playing.
Right.
Which is the antithesis
That
of
was
how I
the
wanna do
original.
things, but,
That was the original idea. I wanted a game, character creation, 5 minutes long, go. And you could tell whatever story you want to tell. You want to tell a sci-fi story? Here we go. You want to tell a fantasy story? Here we go.
But I'll hold Kevin to that, what was it, July 31st deadline, at least a 1-page document. So,
well, like I said, there has to be something because I have to give it out to the players at Gen Con. So.
right.
I mean, we could give you a link to the Notion that has it all there if it'll make you feel better.
But it's not organized in any way. It's
and I get it. It's evolving. It's going to continue to evolve, and that's cool too. I mean, so
I'm okay just pestering you whenever I have questions.
And that's that's fine as well. That is part of the playtest. That's why we're doing this. Is the simplicity of the game kind of makes it to where, like, the design is done. We're fine tuning now. We went from nothing to fine tuning almost instantly. And it's because it's meant to be so simplistic and so easy to just pick up and go. And so, there's people like, I mean, Jenna has worked on Siren Squad for years. And, me and Kevin just show up and like, hey, what if we did this? And like, boom, there's a game. And so, but that's the way the game is meant to be. Like, it's meant to be a super easy, ready to pick up and go game. So now we're just tweaking it. Now we're just like getting the fine points dialed in to where it actually works and there's not an issue with something. If something were to come up, we need to give the GM tools to deal with it.
We're putting a lot of extra work into it to make it simple.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm racking my brain off right now is what are some like one-off scenarios. So like, and that's why I haven't been able to think of one because the ones that we've come across recently we've covered. So tie goes to the highest dice that was rolled.
Yeah. If the GM rolls like the player is rolling you attack a creature, you're rolling a D7. The creature you're attacking, like his brisk is a D6. Okay, you get the bonus of a D7. If you both roll a 4, you get the hit because you rolled a D7 instead
Correct.
of a D6. However, that is also the same in reverse. If the creature has a D7 and you have a D6, then the creature gets, the tie goes to the creature. Because the GM's got to have fun too.
But I thought long and hard about that one day, and that's the way it should be, because if it's a higher die, right, D7 versus D6, statistically, it was harder to get that number on the D7 than it would have been on a D6. So that makes perfect sense in my mind.
Mine as well. Austin, anything else? You got any other words of wisdom?
Well, if I'm being honest, I don't like Dan. I don't have much. I never ran a campaign before. Well, I'm considering on running one, but
you've played in a bunch, though. You've played. I mean, I know you and your dad have played a bunch, and you've played a bunch with us. You've played DCC. You've played Pirate Borg. You've played. You played a bunch of games with us, so you know how games work and how mechanics work. I guess at the end of the day, have you been enjoying this the last few weeks that you've been playing this? Has it been fun?
Yes, it has been very much fun, and I like how you made it really simple and easy to enjoy, and how you made it where we can go do our own thing sometimes, or we don't have to be all in one spot. We just go into different parts of the ship, which is dangerous.
That wasn't written that way. That's just you idiots doing that. That is the group that I'm saddled with. But the fact that it works in this system is a happy accident.
I mean, I like it how it works. I've been enjoying it.
Have you met your uncle? I'm gonna say, have you met your uncle ever once in your life? Have you been around your uncle at all? Okay.
Yes. And yes, I get it. Like, he's the tyrant of this guild. He isn't the most sanest person when it comes to games.
Like he likes to do his own thing. That's all I'm gonna say. Jeff likes to do his own Jeffy business, and Jeff really enjoyed DCC. DCC is the perfect system for Jeff because it allowed him to be the Jeff he's always wanted to Jeff.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he literally pushed a pig back in his cage.
It allowed him to unleash his inner Jeff.
When we're supposed to kill him, we don't know if it did help to fix the sail or whatnot, but I mean, I've been enjoying the chaos. It's been fun just seeing everyone's reactions. And yeah,
I do like that it is open to that. Like, I feel like for a group that is more streamlined and more focused, the game will work that way as well. However, for a game that's more like a group that's more kind of, goonish and doing their own stuff, it works in that system and that setting. That's kind of the thing I've noticed is it seems to work both ways. It works in a more streamlined, focused game and a unfocused game as well. So
yeah, you can either be smart about it or you can just be dumb about it.
Yeah.
I've got one more question.
Yeah, go.
Scott, Kevin, you guys been focusing on this game mechanic. Are there any ideas further, even if they're way further down the line, to apply this to a particular game setting?
It is meant to be agnostic.
Yeah, okay. It's designed to not have.
If you want to run sci-fi in it, go for it.
All right, that's fair.
There are plans to have guidelines for different genres in this available for the system. So it's like, okay, you're running sci-fi. Here's rules for cybernetics. Here's rules.
Yeah, at some point we're gonna have to worry about guns.
Yeah,
like we're running a fantasy game right now with swords and bows and arrows. But if you want to run any kind of a modern game, you're going to have stats and mechanics for guns.
I think you just give Don Key a gun for this next encounter, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'll
just give
give
him
you
like a musket.
Lock and make you roll every time you pull a trigger, or whether or not it explodes in your hand.
Take 3 actions to reload.
Yep.
Well, you got to get the powder in there, the wad, the
ball,
bullet. Yeah.
Packet.
Yeah.
Every good fantasy has to have at least one gun.
That possibly the biggest mistake Paizo ever made was creating the gunslinger class. That was not a good move on Paizo's part.
I like the gunslinger class. It made it fun for me.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. You're a player, not a GM.
I love causing pain to GMs.
So, Jonathan, anything else from you? Any other questions or suggestions or?
I don't think so. I think a lot of the things I think will iron themselves out as we play at higher levels. I think that might be some of what we're missing right now is we just need to, and even if it's we advance time and instead of seeing how it plays out, if we take 3 sessions and run a mid-level character just to see how it works.
To be honest, that's been my plan all along. We're doing this funnel for fun. We're putting the fun back in funnel.
Hey-o.
But when we go to, pretty much this was meant to weed out, like you've got your 4 characters. This was meant to weed it down to 1.
Yeah.
And when we go to level 1, that will be where chain theory starts. You'll have a D10, a D8, and a D6.
Yeah.
And everything that happened before that, like stat-wise, will be wiped clean. Like when we go to level 1, it will be how chain theory is meant to run.
So how many dice
that's been my
total?
plan all along. Is like this funnel business was just to. We all love the funnel so much, so I just wanted to run a funnel. But
how many dice total are there in the chain?
There's the D3, the D4, the D5, D6, D7, D8, D10, D12, D14, D16, D20, D24, and the D30. So 13.
13. So lucky 13.
And if you ever advance a stat to a D30, you're God mode.
Yeah.
Like that is that is meant to be like, I mean, if you're a Conan type character and you're rolling a D30 for your brawn rolls, like that's some high level, like the GM's gonna have to be on their game for that.
I'm just thinking, could I guess an entry level player, could you bump it down a dice and say that you start as a D4? So do 4, 5, 6 instead of 6, 7, 8, kind of as we've been doing. Let that be your entry level, or would that be 2?
Well, the way we did it with this funnel, I literally made that up on the spot.
Yeah.
Because we're doing a funnel. I didn't want you to be as powerful as level 1, so I just kind of bumped it back. Now, there could be something to be said for... You got a D10, a D8, and a D6. drop that D6 to a D5. You can bump your D10 up to a D12. I mean, that's something we could consider. That's a possibility.
Kind of narrowing the scope of, I mean, you really want to be a fighter or something like that.
Yeah. If you're willing to say, I have no interest in ever playing a brains type character, I'll drop that D6 to a D5, or we could even make it where it's 2 dice for 2 negatives for 1 positive. Like, I'll drop my D6 to a D4 to bump my D10 to a D12.
That's a really good idea.
That's an idea at character creation. Only at character creation.
Yeah.
After that, you're locked in. But, and I mean, we could make that, Kevin, you could hear Kevin typing in the Notion as we speak. I mean, we could make that an option. We could make that a GM. You know, if the GM wants to use that, then by all means, go for it. If the GM wants to say, no, let's do 10, 8, and 6, then you do 10, 8, and 6. It's on the GM.
Yeah.
But that is an option. That is something that could happen. And you don't have to do the bottom one. You could do the middle one. If you want to drop your D8 down to a D5 to get that extra die in your top. Or, you know, speaking of that, you drop the middle one from a D8 to a D5, and that bumps your D6 up to a D7. So you would have a 10, 7, and 5. It all depends on how you want to play, what character you want to, what you have in mind, how you want your character to play out.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of ways to utilize the lower end of the chain. I know some of them will be used for damage. So like low level weapons use D4, but
yeah, now didn't we have a thing where you could lose levels, Kevin?
We had it so this way you could burn advancement points to do things.
advancement points as in the little bubbles under like finesse okay.
Yeah, you could burn an advancement mark to bump up a die roll 2 steps for 1 roll.
Burn in advance. Say that again.
That's for 1 roll. So how would you what Jonathan is talking about is incorporating the D4 and the D3.
That's what I'm saying. Like initial thought would be just to make your initial starting dice instead of a D6 or a D8. Just start lower down on the chain.
Yeah, that would have to be a character creation only thing, like kind of like taking
maybe
a flaw in character creation to get something better.
Maybe instead of a D10, D8, a D6, a D6, a D5, and a D4.
That was kind of my thought.
I mean, that would give us more room to
give you more.
Because that was a concern for us. Is like, yeah, you hit the D30, you're God mode, but you hit the D30, that's it. Yeah. Like, there's nothing past the D30. It jumps from the D30 to the D100.
Yeah, every system has that though. For the most part. Like most systems have a cap that once you reach this, you're not doing anything else. There's no new spells to learn. There's no new moves to take.
I'm literally in real time watching this Notion change as Kevin is typing. So yeah, I mean that's something we could. Why did we settled on the D10, D8, and D6 just so that it would seem like there was something they could do?
Yeah, it was probably just to be so this way, like you're playing the idea behind these kinds of games is you're not playing Joe Average. You're playing someone that's gifted in some way through training, through divine prophecy, through, getting bit by a radioactive spider to be like better than everyone else. So that's why, you're supposed to be better. Like your attributes are going to be higher.
And if I think of every character that I've played in like D&D or Pathfinder, I think a D 10, 8, and 6 or 12, 10, and 8 would be fine. But like for like DCC, those intro level characters, give them a 4. They can roll a D1, they die.
Yeah.
And after like they fight like the first like
give them a D2.
You know what?
Flip a coin.
I really like the notion of starting. All right, look, hear me out.
Oh boy, here we go.
Sorry, I got y'all off.
Yeah. We're spinning now. The wheels are spinning. D6, D5, and a D3.
And that kind of is where we went at the very beginning. Of you have a entry level stat, you have a regular stat, you have like those are your tiers. So
now,
if you're playing in this,
this is with the understanding that the GM is going to tier the monsters so that they the monster's not going to be rolling a D12 while you're rolling a D4.
Yeah.
Like it's not meant to do that. But I kind of like skipping the D4 and giving that D3 someplace to go. Starting with a D6, D5, and a D3, and then having the D4 come in later. I mean, it's something to think about. And thanks to Jonathan, when we go to level 1, you all just dropped all these dice to instead of D10, D8, D6. Now you're gonna have a D6, D5, and D3.
Thanks so much.
Happy to take the blame.
But as we said, this is not meant to have a funnel. This mechanic was not written for a funnel. It's meant to start at this point and move forward. So yeah, I mean, incorporating the lower end dice makes sense. That just puts the onus on the GM to, like, you don't want your creatures to be rolling a D12 when the big strong barbarian is rolling a D5. Like that's not cool. So the GM's going to have to tier things down to match. But I would imagine we would do things like once we were creating our own modules, like DCC or like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder. We would have a first level, like an entry level adventure, and so forth, and the monsters would tier up as you go across, or we could just leave it to the GM to decide what the monster, what level your group is at, and the monster rolls this for in that situation. Oh, I kind of like that idea. Instead of having tiered adventures, have an adventure that has like an entry-level group could play this adventure, but the GM needs to drop the dice down to meet the group. I kind of like that idea. That's kind of cool. Instead of that way, the adventure could work for multiple different levels instead of just one. Kind of like that. That's a notion. Write that down, Kevin.
I think
Am
you
I
already
right now?
did.
That instead of having an adventure be like an entry level adventure, and then this is a first level adventure, and this is a second level adventure, have an adventure written and the stats for the monsters, like if your group is just starting out and they're entry level adventures, this is the stats. If they're more advanced, this is the stats. Let the GM decide where his group is at, and that's where the stats, the monsters, come into play. I don't even know what this is. He's typing in. So yeah, I mean we're bumping up against 10 o'clock, and I mean I said we were going to keep this kind of short. So, Dan, do you have anything else? Anything on your mind about the discussion we're having, or
No,
the games that we've been playing for the last several weeks? Anything else?
no, I enjoy the games. I enjoy the mechanic, simplicity of it. In terms of how it develops, we'll see. And I understand that it's ever evolving. So, and
Yeah,
I
for
presume for the
now
better.
it is. I mean, that's the whole point of the playtest, is that we're fine tuning and getting it to where it needs to be before we put it up, on drive-through or Kickstarter or whatever route we decide to go. By the way, we already have multiple very talented artists that have have reached out to us about doing art for it. We mentioned Jenna earlier. Jenna and Allie, also from the guild, and both from Fem Gamer Party. Speaking of, there's a link to their channel if you would like to follow them on Twitch. And my beautiful, talented daughter is also very excited about contributing some art to our game. Cool. So yeah, there's going to be, like, the plan is there's going to be a book. There's going to be I don't know that it'll ever see like print, like it'll be a physical manifestation of this thing, but at the very least it'll be a PDF. I mean, I would love to have a physical book. That would be fantastic, to be able to hold something in my hand, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Kinko's.
True.
Well, okay. Kevin, do you have anything else? You would anything's come up in discussion that?
Nope, I've added some stuff to the Notion, changed some stuff around, but this was good.
If you're watching this and it's a replay, go join the Discord, and then you can suggest things in there.
Yeah, tell us what you like.
Speaking of, there's the link to our Discord. As Jonathan would say, we run a Discord channel that we play a ton of different RPGs, and we like to jump around from system to system. Hence the random. Here in the last year, we've run Pirate Borg, Blades in the Dark, Chain Theory, Pathfinder. I can't think of. I mean, for the last several years, we've just been running a ton of stuff. I have so many games and books right here by my desk that I just there Kevin has his library behind him. Um, and I even have games that we have yet to run that I've been waiting for a chance to jump in on and have fun with. So yeah, if you would like to join Random Encounters Guild, there's a link to our Discord channel. It's a very welcoming community of players. If you would like to try your hand at GMing, it's a welcoming place for new GMs. You'll find players who are willing to play your game and give you the space to learn as you go, not expect you to be a professional starting out. We love that. We love having new GMs step up and try their hand at being a GM. That gives me a chance to play, which I enjoy. We always have something going on Sunday night. During the week, I've been streaming Star Wars Jedi Survivor recently. We've been playing a pirate board game, but that may not happen tomorrow night, Dan.
Yeah, we'll see. Oddly enough, based on AC issues.
Okay. We may be live tomorrow night with more pirate board, but if we're not, we will be live at a later date. We will continue that story at a later date.
And I haven't mentioned this to anyone, so that you're getting it. For breaking news, I've been kicking around the idea of looking at the solo rules for Dragonbane and possibly doing a solo run of some of the stuff that we didn't cover in our game, just to kind of show off some of the other set pieces that were in the Misty Valley or whatever the heck the name of the place was.
That was the other game we ran, was Dragonbane.
Yeah,
Dragonbane.
What are in the list of games? I missed Dragonbane.
We've done DCC as well. Yeah, which is you mentioned that earlier though.
So yeah, please join us if you want to try some new games. Otherwise, you can find us here on Twitch. As I said, if we're always playing something on Sunday night, and here lately, I've been playing a lot of. I've been streaming Jedi Survivor because it's just a cool game, and I've been enjoying playing it. So more of that will probably happen if we don't stream Pirate Board tomorrow night. I'll probably have Jedi Survivor going. Otherwise, we'll be back. I'm not sure what we're going to run a week from tonight. We don't have anything scheduled as of yet. It may be Delta Green, or something else. We'll see. Maybe we can do. If Pirate Board doesn't happen tomorrow night, maybe it can be Sunday night. Maybe we can have that be the Sunday night, the random night game. I would be fine with that. If that's what happens. If we don't make it tomorrow night, then we could do it Sunday night if scheduling works out.
Okay.
But good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, we will be back here 2 weeks from tonight with the big fight that was supposed to happen tonight. I'm gonna kill some player characters. We'll be back with that 2 weeks from tonight with more Chain Theory. And we'll figure something out about a week from tonight. And when we do, it'll be posted to our socials, Twitch and Instagram and all that business. So, yeah, I guess we will call it a night. Let me see if there's anybody going right now that we can raid.
Raiders.
It doesn't look like there's anybody that we are friends with that are streaming right now. and I'm not gonna. I don't know who any of these people are, so I'm not gonna. Jump in if I don't know what their stream is and what they're all about. So we're just going to call it a night. And here again, anybody watching, I hope you had a fantastic Father's Day. And I will we'll see you this week for Jedi Survivor, as I said, and tomorrow night, possibly Pirate Board, but if not, we'll make it up Sunday night. We'll try to reschedule it for Sunday night. So yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I don't think so.
I think we said all that we wanted to say and ask.
All right. All right. So yeah, I hope you have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you in the in chat on Discord. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.